I just had a brilliant conversation on a coaching call that I did for my HCS program, and I wanted to share it with you here on YouTube. Please watch this video with your utmost attention, with the attitude of not just watching another YouTube video on this subject to give your mind some food, but rather watch it as perhaps with the attitude that this is your last video that you're watching on this subject. With this clarity, with this freshness, approach this video. I hope it adds tons of value to you. Okay, here it goes. Recently, I got an email, and someone said to me that through meditation, I fully understand an inquiry. I understand, I recognize that I am not the mind. But so he said, but Sunny, this doesn't feel like a big deal to me. Why does it matter that I'm not the mind? You know, of what significance is this discovery? And I found this very funny, you know, like, because from one perspective, this is a monumental discovery. And when truly realized, you know, it is very, very freeing. But in one way, you can look at it and it doesn't seem of any significance at all. So what if I'm not the mind? How does that help me? You know? And so that's what I wanted to cover today. That's the angle through which we'll conduct our inquiry today. So to that person, first and foremost, I said, and I want everybody here to look as well. First, dropping all ideas about inquiry and dropping all your past experience with inquiry. Be fresh right here. Don't hold any pre-existing notions about inquiry or what you want out of it. So here and now, if you just don't try to do anything, don't try to not do anything, you're not changing anything. Like you're here on the call just for the sole purpose of listening, right? We're here on the call just for the sake of being here right now. When you are like this and activity is paused, all your goals, whatever they may be, they are on hold just for at least the time that you're on this call. Everything is on hold, your responsibilities, your problems, your family, everything is on hold. It's just on pause just for now. Now, if you just sit here, eyes open or closed, see quickly, you know what happens. If you just sit here without doing anything, without wanting to do make anything happen, all your activities on pause. Now it's just thinkingness that's happening. Commentary, past, present, future, interpretation, judgment, just thinkingness, psychological chatter. Automatically. And now you begin to, instead of just dwelling in the commentary, which is what you're always invited to do here, rather than finding pleasure in the commentary and dwelling in it, or rather than suffering the commentary and trying to reject it and stop it, you're being asked to acknowledge that you can look at the commentary without pushing or pulling, without clinging or resisting. Yeah, right? Without attaching or rejecting. When you take this invitation and you start to look at it, you start to recognize that, okay, if there was this fearful thought that was arising, the moment I stop dwelling in that thought and in the thinkingness of thought, and I take the invitation to look at that thought, you discover quickly that the pull of that fear decreases a little bit. You don't experience it in the same way, or you'll experience it completely differently. Just by looking at it, it's almost like you step outside of it and you're looking at it. You acknowledge that what is arising in mind, I don't have to react further to it. I don't have to try to figure it out. I don't have to try to make it into something else. This previously was completely hidden because throughout life we just operate under this because it's the conditioning. That's what we know. That's what we believe it is true, and that's what we consider life in a way. We believe that we are the mental commentary, and that if the mental commentary is problematic, that we have to solve it through more mental commentary. And so, just by taking the simple invitation that is given to you here on these calls, you start to just look at the commentary, and you start to realize that I am not the commentary. The million things that are always being said, the million perspectives that are always being offered, the different urges, the repulsions, the fears, the desires, the attachments, the resistances. You can look at them almost as if you're sort of outside of them. It's still very intimate, right? Still feels like my thinking, me. However, you start to recognize by taking this invitation to observe your commentary, you start to recognize that it can be what it wants to be right now, but it doesn't need anything from me. And I don't have to react to it. I don't have to be afraid of it. This is itself a great freedom because we fear our own thoughts, especially the moment they turn of a negative nature. We fear our own thoughts. And then we fear the fear. And then we go into more self judgment. And then we seek a way out. And we feel like we're broken. And so it just spirals into so much else. Now you're no longer going down that trail, but instead you're you're automatically just again and again taking the invitation, looking at the commentary, and acknowledging that you do have the capacity to see without involving yourself, seeing without believing in what it is saying or having to follow its projections. So this itself is a great freedom, right? Now, to that person, I said, and for those who are joining late, the way we started this call was I recently received an email by someone who said, through meditation, through inquiry, I'm understanding that I am not my mind. But why is this a big deal? Right? To me, this is not really that significant. I am not my mind. So what? And so we just covered the first aspect of it, that just being able to look at mind, look at the million different projections of mind, yet no longer feeling attached to them or believing in them, acting on them, reacting to them, is itself a great freedom. But the main thing that I want us to look at today, and please do it here and now, don't wait till later. Don't just take the dialogue in. Actually take this invitation to look again. Here and now, as soon as there's a moment of silence, the mental commentary, it's there, right? Thoughts are there, whatever they may be saying. They're perhaps interpreting what is being said here, or they're just thinking about dinner later, or what's coming up tomorrow, or perhaps what's so unpleasant in your life right now for which you came onto this call to hope to gain an insight so that you can be free of it. Whatever it is saying, it's saying something. And you're being asked to look at that here. And to whatever degree, perhaps through these calls or the just your own seeing, you have come to this understanding that I am not the million different projections. It is not my voice. Now see the mind here and now. And I invite you to investigate. As what do you see the mind? It's good and all to say, I understand I'm not the mind. But here is where you must look, because if you look through one perspective, through the regular conditioning and assumption, you will completely miss it. Whereas if you take the invitation here and in the way we're saying here right now, it will really open up a new possibility. Please establish yourself. Establish your I. The I that sees I am not the mind. The I that acknowledges I am not the mind. Not that it itself is saying I am not the mind verbally, right? But it's just an acknowledgement that I here seeing mind arise and subside. A wordless acknowledgement. The I that sees, right? What is that? As what do you see? I am not the mind. Here, don't go jump into any conclusion. Don't try to answer the question. Don't try to label what it is. Just look. Here and now, what do I establish myself as the one that is looking? What is that? What am I showing up to the world as? What am I here and now experiencing this moment as? Where is my sense of self established? What is my reference point for this I, from where I see, from where I perceive? This is what makes the difference between if this seeing is a big deal or is just another sort of, you know, the mind itself is saying, what's the big deal? You say, you say, I understand I'm not the mind. What's the big deal? Yet you fail to see that it is the mind itself saying, I am not the mind. What's the big deal? And you believe in this and you go along with this and you say this and ask a question about this. This is where I want you to catch the mind. And as what do you catch the mind? As what do you see that even this is just another mental movement? You need not have an answer. Please see that. When we ask questions like this, let there be the looking. That's it. For once in your life, you're being asked to look without trying to find. Just do the looking itself. Don't wait for any result or reward or destination. Just look. In the looking, you will find the reward, but don't worry about that. So this is something very, very major, very, very crucial. You must continue to readjust in this way. Sometimes when you very often come to conclusions in this process, you come which then just become another belief then through which you operate. And it may be a little more positive belief, which is more pleasant than what you previously used to believe, but it's still a belief. And this practice is not about belief. You must again and again check, what is my reference point? Right? What am I establishing this I as? As what do I see? That I am not mind. I am not the thoughts. Any other thought that arises, perhaps it says awareness or consciousness or this and that. See that it is just another mental movement being looked at. Fine. It's good and all, whatever it's saying, but ultimately, it is not what is looking at, what is looking right now. The very word that arises in view is being looked at, so it cannot help us. right? Because we're not looking for another thought. We've had plenty of those, and we can find plenty of those in books and on calls like this. They help, but to a certain degree. We're not trying to be addicted to words. So let the even those sort of thoughts arise that are constantly labeling and deciding and concluding what is this that is seeing. But we're not interested in that. So look at even those and acknowledge that they are being looked at. What is it that sees? Bring the attention to that. See if that which is looking has any physical attribute. See if it even has any subtle attribute, quality. Anything the mind can come up with. It says this is its physical quality or this is its subtle quality. Are the qualities, physical or subtle, also not something being looked at by this looker, this seer? So don't just be satisfied there. Don't just get stuck on that. See again, acknowledge again that this too is being observed. Not to just be repetitive, but it truly acknowledging that anything objective that I can come up with, that I can try to guess that it is, any objective quality is also observed, is also seen. That is why it is objective. What do I mean by objective? It is an object of your awareness, something that can be looked at. And so, as you continue on with this, obviously, for the sake of this call, we can just sit here also for 2 hours, just do that looking. But I also leave that to you for your own time. As you do that, as you look, you start to see and acknowledge that what this me is that is looking, this me that sees I am not mind, has no objective quality. It is not an object of awareness. Now, mind may come here and again say, what's the big deal? Then what? But please see that. See the magnitude of this discovery. Because right now, the paradigm through which we live, which is conditioned, is I, this body, with a name, and this past and history that is just recycling in my mind. I am here on this call with other bodies in a world that is outside of me and it exists independently of me. This is the paradigm, you know? Whereas the inquiry that we do here, it is helping you see that the body, which I take to be my reference point for my I, and the thoughts that I take my reference point. What I mean by reference point is this is what you consider to be I, and from here you live. This is the depth of self knowledge, and from here you live. And so a thought arises. From the thought, you see, and you the I-ness, the me-ness is intertwined with that thought. It is intertwined with this body. And so the invitation to observe the mind and body and the world, and the inquiry to see, as what do I see? I'm not the mind. It is helping you see that what I am is prior to the body and mind, and it is subtler than the body and mind. The body is just another object in the seeing. It is seen, it is known, and it is known to change. From what place is also the body seen to change? Same with the mind, right? You're seeing the mind being changeful. From what changeless place do I witness the mind being changeful? You see, so it places just in the looking itself, and in this sort of contemplation, your sense of what I am is becoming subtler than the gross body, the physical material body, and just the bundle of thoughts. And so not only does this bring a great freedom in and of its own, because no longer just every ripple of mind, every urge, every uh, habitual pattern, every desire, every fear is pulling you in all these different directions, because previously that was your reference point for me. And so from that you lived. So if there's a great resistance here, it is, this is me and mine, and I go wherever it goes. If there's great pleasure here, then I go where it goes. This is the person. This is the personal state. Whereas now in you're becoming you're seeing, and you're taking this invitation to see and look, and in the looking you start to discover that all that arises, these urges, these reflexes, these reactions, can be looked at from where I am, from where I see. And these things I do not have to follow anymore. Somewhere it's like the deeper you go, the more element of personal control also comes. Or you can say a personal detachment, right? Detachment isn't something like, oh, you're forcing yourself to do. It is a natural space which increases and widens the more you start to really look and see that these little ripples and movements, I am not. And the more you start to question, then as what do I see that I am not this? Right? Because also you get into this sort of teaching, and still there's an underlying assumption again and again it creeps up that, you know the one making this discovery is just, again, the body, the person. Although the person and the mental, like the thoughts, may be formulating the discovery into words and then relaying it forward, the initial acknowledgement, the wordless acknowledgement, what is that? To whom does that occur? And so this is a great freedom, to that person who asked me that, why is that a big deal to see I am not the mind? When you question, then as what do I see I am not the mind? Right? In that question, the one he asked, he is assuming, and for the sake of this conversation, let's just call him John. John is assuming that I, John, this body, am seeing I am not the mind. But this is what we are asking you to unmix. You see, because that assumption, that belief, the automatic identification, the conditioned identification is covering up this seeing. And so from this covered up, right, it's almost like a cloud.
it's covering up just the natural thing that it's like because what is uncovered, right? It's not something else out there. It's just what is. It's natural, but it's being clouded, and from this distortion, now this one seeks discovery. But this one is told that for discovery, you need not accumulate and acquire or attain. You just have to clear up. That's why it's called clarity. It's just, you clear it up. The more you are able to clear up and through silence discover and relinquish so many beliefs which are currently covering up just the natural state, the more you're going to be able to have that clarity. And where there's clarity, there's no confusion by nature. So that this question arises from above the cloud. And this invitation to look, to be quiet, it clears the cloud.